Stars of 90 Day Fiancé David and Annie's kid is in trouble. David and Annie, stars of the hit reality program 90 Day Fiancé, had a terrible moment when their little child was bitten by a dog. They took their youngster to the hospital right after the event. After this, they both fell apart and tears streamed down their faces. But the hospital physicians have said there is no reason to be worried. The doctor responded, "You brought the child at the right time, which is why he could be saved. The situation could have been different if you had waited any longer." The toddler is in the hospital getting therapy and is slowly getting better with the help of several shots. David and Annie are now able to breathe easier, but they are still not over how shocked they were by what happened. But it was intended to be a routine afternoon for David and Annie. They were going to take their 4-year-old son Noah for a walk in the park, where they would laugh, eat ice cream, and enjoy the sun. But in only a few seconds, that calm day changed into every parent's worst nightmare. Noah had been racing ahead and laughing as he chased bubbles that were floating in the wind. David was recording the romantic moment on his phone, and Annie smiled as she held a tiny bag of goodies for their son. Then, out of nowhere, a stray dog ran out from behind the bushes along the pavement. The dog leaped forward and bit Noah's leg before anyone could do anything. When David dropped his phone and ran forward, Annie screamed in horror. The dog had already backed away, but tiny Noah was on the ground, wailing in pain and shock, with blood on his leg. David picked him up, attempting to stay cool, as Annie's hands shook as she called 911. In a matter of minutes, they were in an ambulance racing to the nearest hospital. Time stopped at the hospital. Annie couldn't stop crying as physicians and nurses worked frantically on Noah. David sat quietly in the corner, his face pallid and his eyes red. The couple's happy spirit was gone, and in its place were fear, guilt, and despair. "I should have seen the dog," David said under his breath. "I should have protected him." But the medical crew stayed focused. After treating the wound and giving the first round of rabies and tetanus shots, the doctor finally spoke to the scared parents in a calm voice. "You did the right thing by bringing him in right away. The bite is bad, but you got here just in time. We could start medication before any infection could happen. He'll be fine." As soon as the doctor said those words, Annie fell into David's arms and cried violently, this time out of relief. David held her close and said softly, "He's safe, Annie. Now he's safe." The pair stayed with Noah for the following few hours. They read him books, played his favorite cartoons on the iPad, and told him again and again that the mean dog wouldn't come back. Noah, who was still weak and sleepy from his medicine, continued reaching out to grab his mother's hand. Fans from all around the world swiftly filled their social media pages with love and prayers after the event. David posted a touching video from the hospital room on Instagram the next day. He thanked everyone who had sent the messages while holding Annie's hand. "It means a lot to us. The day before yesterday was the scariest day of our lives. We wouldn't want anyone to see our child in so much suffering. Noah is getting well, though, thanks to fast medical care. Tonight, give your loved ones a little extra affection. Things can change in a second." Annie, who is still shaking, said, "We're just so thankful. Thankful that he's okay. Thankful for the doctors. And thank you to everyone who has helped us through this." David and Annie stayed with Noah the whole week, never leaving his side, even though his condition got better. They took his beloved stuffed dinosaur to the hospital, sang to him, and made him giggle again, slowly putting their broken hearts back together. Noah's leg may still have a scar, but the love and fortitude of his parents will always be more important than what happened that day. This event was a terrible reminder for David and Annie of how fragile life can be, but it also showed them how strong love, timing, and family can be. They were famous on reality TV, but in that hospital room, they were just two parents who would do anything to keep their child safe. And this time, love and quick action made everything better. David Toborowski, on the other hand, had always been a calm, charming man who had gone through a lot and wore every wrinkle like a badge of experience. At 54, he thought he had seen and done most of what life has to offer. That was until he met Annie Sowen, a 26-year-old with a laugh that could light up a dark room and a personality that made him feel like he was in a new place. David felt different inside from the first time he met them in Thailand. Not only did she bring love into his life, but she also gave energy, excitement, and a sense of youth that he felt he had lost. Their mornings in Arizona were full of happiness and a little bit of turmoil. Annie would play happy Thai pop music really loud while she danced around the kitchen and made spicy noodles for breakfast. David would come in, still in his robe, looking sleepy yet happy. "You need to move more, baby. Your legs are getting rusty." Annie would tease him and drag him into a fun dance. David would accompany her even though his knees hurt. He felt like he was 30 again in an instant. Annie had a list of things she wanted to do before she died. David was resolved to check off every box with her, even if he didn't want to. One weekend, they went zip-lining through the woods in Tennessee. The next week, they rode scooters down the small alleys of Bangkok. David used to find comfort in routine, but now he smiled at how uncomfortable he was. After each adventure, he would quip, "You're going to kill me one of these days. But you'll die with a smile." Annie would answer. People, friends, and even some viewers of the show had observed the age difference. Sometimes David would hear or read things that hurt his feelings. Midlife crisis. She's taking advantage of him. She's too young. But Annie always put such doubts to rest. She never made David feel anything less than special. She would whisper to him, "You are the most beautiful man I've ever met. You are smart, kind, and funny. You make me feel safe." And during those times, David wasn't 54. He wasn't getting older. He was at the right place, lively, full of life, and deeply in love. David didn't feel young because of the crazy vacations or the last-minute planning. It was the little things like how Annie held his hand as they went around the park. When she tried to teach him Thai phrases, she laughed. The way she told him to try different foods, wear brighter shirts, and be happy without feeling bad about it. After a long day of filming for the show, the two rested on their porch one night. David, who was fatigued, rested on Annie's shoulder. He remarked, "Do you ever wish you were with someone your age?" And his uneasiness showed. She smiled at him when she turned to him. "I didn't fall in love with an age. I fell in love with you. You make me laugh, you make me feel safe, and you treat me like a queen." David grinned, but his eyes were watery. "Annie, you make me feel young. Like I can live for a long time." She held his face in her hands. "Then let's live it together." David and Annie may have seemed like an unusual coupling at first, but they became a symbol of promise, not scandal. That love doesn't have an age limit. It counts the laughter, the support, the memories, and how one person can change everything for you. Annie wasn't only David's wife. She was the source of his youth. And together, they showed that becoming older doesn't have to be boring, especially when you're in love. But David and Annie's love story had always been wild and unpredictable. They experienced many challenges, such as money problems, family strife, and cultural differences from the time they met in Thailand until the time they built a life together in America. But through it all, they were there for each other. But there was one problem that was slowly ruining their blissful life: David's drinking. Annie didn't care at first. David liked to have a beer or cocktail with supper every now and then in Thailand. But things changed after they got to the US. What used to be casual became a regular habit. And then it turned into more than simply a habit. It became a worry. David again? One night, Annie sighed as she watched him pour his third glass of whiskey before supper. He grinned, not knowing how heavy her voice was. "It's just been a long day," he muttered, waving her away. "This helps me calm down." But it wasn't only after long days. It happened every day, at night, during gatherings, and even sometimes in the middle of the day. Annie began to see that his moods were changing. He was more irritable, more fatigued, and less present. She tried to chat to him. "I didn't come to America to lose you to a bottle," she said one night, her voice low and tears in her eyes. David stopped moving. He had never seen Annie like that before. She was always powerful, sarcastic, and funny. This part of her was hurt, let down, and afraid. "I'm not an alcoholic, Annie," he said in a defensive tone. You're overreacting. Annie, on the other hand, was no longer sure. The man she loved was still there, but some of him was getting lost in a veil of drink. It all came to a head over a friend's birthday dinner. David came late, obviously drunk, and made her feel bad by telling loud jokes and slurring his words. Annie, embarrassed, went to the restroom and cried. She confronted him when she got home. I'm tired, David. This isn't the same man I married. You said we would make a life together, not drink it away. I left my home, my family, and everything else to be with you, and now I feel alone here. Because you're not actually here with me anymore. David looked at her. No sound. The truth hurt him more than any hangover. The next morning, he did something Annie never thought he would do. He went to a meeting of a local support group for persons who have trouble with alcohol. Weeks went by. Annie looked at him with wary hope. The bottles of whiskey were gone. The mood swings got less severe. They began to spend actual time together again, cooking, walking, and joking like they used to. David turned to her one night and said, I didn't know how much I was hurting us. Thank you for caring about me enough to stop me. Annie smiled and put her head on his shoulder. David, you're my husband. I will fight for you, but I won't lose myself for you. And just like that, they made the first meaningful step toward becoming better together. But one day in Bangkok, Annie dared David to eat one of her grandmother's famous Thai chili peppers. David said with pride and assurance, I've made it through Nashville hot chicken. What is this? Child's play. Annie gave him the little hot pepper while trying not to laugh. David's face went bright red 2 seconds later. I think I just swallowed the sun, he coughed, clutching a whole jug of milk while Annie burst out laughing, documenting the entire thing on her phone for Instagram. Even Annie's auntie laughed and patted David on the back, saying, You strong farong. Love, that's quite hot. David offered to sing karaoke at a family gathering in Annie's hamlet to try to get closer to her family. He thought he was picking a love song when he picked a Thai breakup ballad, which turned out to be a disaster. He messed up the words by trying to read the Thai characters phonetically and sang out of tune. Everyone in the family tried to keep a straight face until Annie's cousin yelled with laughter. He just said, I love your buffalo, instead of, I love your smile. Annie was laughing so hard that she couldn't breathe. David bowed and said, Thank you. Thank you. I might be here all night by myself. Annie made them use a tuk-tuk instead of a taxi on one excursion to the local market. David thought about it for a second because he knew he wasn't the best passenger for aerodynamics. The driver rushed through small alleys as soon as they started moving, like in the movie Fast and Furious, Bangkok Drift. David's face fluttered in the wind, and his hair flew all over the place. Annie filmed him yelling, I didn't sign up for a roller coaster. Annie couldn't stop laughing, and even the driver was giggling. Within hours, the clip went viral on TikTok. Annie made the choice to show David how to make pad thai. He didn't realize that she had covertly exchanged the sugar for salt and the fish sauce for vinegar. David did what she told him to do like a good pupil, but as he took the first bite, he looked scared. This tastes like soy sauce-soaked gym socks. Annie couldn't keep it to herself any longer and spoke the truth. When you answered, secret ingredient is love and revenge. David laughed and remarked, I should have known. David decided to try one of those massage chairs while he was at a mall in Bangkok. Before he sat down, Annie secretly turned up the intensity to the highest level. The chair grabbed him like a vice as soon as it started, rolling and hitting him hard. It's possessed, David yelled. Please help. Help. A robot is eating me. People who were shopping turned to look, and Annie could barely keep the camera steady because she was laughing so hard. David and Annie have had their share of problems, but their sense of humor and love of fun keep them strong and keep people interested. This couple shows that laughter is the best part of marriage, whether it's spicy cuisine difficulties, karaoke mistakes, or tuk-tuk shouts. Annie says it best. David is my big baby. I tease him, cook for him, and laugh at him, yet I adore him more than anything. And what about David? Every day with Annie is an adventure. Sometimes it's risky. Always funny. Hello, lovely viewers. Thanks for coming to my channel. Hi, I'm Amelia. I hope your day is going well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you appreciate the video.